Welcome back to KATU News. In our weekly City in Crisis Finding Solution stories, you've seen the major issues facing this city. Crime and homelessness top the list. We've also seen a pattern emerging, neighbors wanting, pleading to help. For the next half hour, you'll meet some of the neighbors that I have met and see why it's so important that the city listens. They are 7 neighbors, and on this October day, they are here at the Ross Island Grocery and Cafe in South Portland with a common goal.
And I don't think that the requests are minor.
This group has made it their mission to watch over their neighborhood and to hold the city accountable when they're not getting the help they need.
We lobbied Peabody for 10 to 15 years. I forget how long ago it started, to get a pedestrian crossing across NATO Parkway.
They're not afraid to push, and push harder when they have to. Michael Kaplan, one of the 7 here, has likely become a thorn in the city's side with his constant calls about neighborhood issues.
We striped it and left some colors there.
You may remember his efforts to get the city's help in cleaning up the nearby Grover Tunnel that became a dumping spot for drug needles, with graffiti plastering the walls. His persistent pressure brought some results, with several city officials even stopping by to help paint the walls. But should it be this difficult to get city help? Kaplan knows who to call. Most people don't. Let me ask you this. Do you think you would get the same response for the tunnel and this community if you weren't putting pressure on them?
No, absolutely not.
You feel that? They all acknowledge the city is overwhelmed, and they say they have a solution for that. Let them help. Several of them are already members of the South Portland Neighborhood Association. They're willing to roll up their sleeves even more.
I agree with the overwhelmed city. Lighten the load. Seed a little bit of that. Let us, as neighborhood associations, we want to step in. I'm not complaining that my neighborhood's messed up. I'm going out there and I'm cleaning my sidewalk. It's my neighborhood. Of course I'm going to take care of my neighborhood. Allow us into the process.
And I think the new structure that they put in place with the city administrator and the mayor's office and all these new city councilors has to have a place where neighborhood associations will continue to have a real direct voice in influencing city policies and how they're implemented. And from what I've seen so far, the proposed new structure doesn't do that. It's really much diminishes and stunts the input the neighborhoods can have.
They feel the wheels of progress move stunningly slowly in the city of Portland, and that a few extra voices offering assistance might help speed up that process.
County and city don't work well together, and it was complicated. Hopefully the state is changing, but it was complicated in the recent past by the state, city, and county not working well together. So what could possibly go wrong? Everything.
Like all Portland neighborhoods, crime is an issue here. Even this cafe, known as the beating heart of the neighborhood, had rocks thrown through the window twice. Do you guys feel safe in your neighborhood? Let me ask you that, because you're a business owner here.
Right.
Do you feel, I know you've had problems.
Yes, I have had 2 windows broken.
But they weren't break-ins.
They weren't break-ins.
They were
It's just
angry. Acts of rage.
Yes, I know, against business.
Ross Island Grocery and Cafe owner Jennifer Danluck recently hosted a business association gathering here, where business owners expressed their safety concerns.
It is, of course, difficult for small businesses, medium-sized businesses to operate and be profitable. And when there are people on the street, when there's constant rocks thrown through windows.
We knew that we were moving close to downtown. We have, 2 very small children, but that was going to be the highlight of being able to walk to the Portland Art Museum, to be able to be in the city. And, you get burglarized with no recourse. You get tires slashed, and you have a man this morning walking around with a blowtorch at the 7-Eleven a block away, and you just think to yourself, I think the city McMinnville looks okay.
I live up Gaines and Corbett, and moved in there in 2011. At the time, until 2019, I was a runner, and I would sometimes run as early as 5:30 in the morning. Never feared. I would run down to the South Waterfront, which is well lit, up to the Hawthorne Bridge, back on First. I would never dream of doing that now.
They are so busy responding to shootings and violent crime and murders, and really have to categorize a lot of what you're hearing about as minor property crimes, things that vandalism, things that they just don't have the resources to respond to. So I think
and the criminals know they don't have the resources, and so the word's out. You can get away with most anything.
Still, these neighbors feel they're lucky. Being as close as they are to downtown, when it comes to crime and cleanliness, they're better off than other neighborhoods.
I mean, we had an RV parked up on Kelly for some number of months, actually, and it was amazing that there weren't 5 other RVs that followed that one in. That one is now gone, miraculously gone. And I would just say that if the city could have kind of a rapid response for neighborhoods that are doing okay so that they stay okay. Because it's really easy to go downhill pretty fast. You get one, it's the broken window theory. The first window's broken, no big deal to break the second through the 10th one. But if you can repair that first broken window immediately, as quickly as possible, you prevent people from breaking the rest of them.
And they point out the city has made some progress, like the gridlock in their neighborhood in the evening when drivers try to get on the Ross Island Bridge. After neighborhood complaints, the city barred left turns, eliminating the gridlock.
Rather than just complaining, we presented some options, and they, of course, brought their expertise to it, and it worked.
You guys are heavily involved in your community, in your neighborhood. You could be doing so many other things with your time. Why are you guys involved as much as you are? What is it that's in your heart and soul that brings you to this table today?
We love and like each other, and we love this neighborhood.
And we remember what it was like before COVID. It wasn't 100 years ago. It was only 3.5 years ago. And the bones of the city are basically the same, but it's got a lot of stuff, cracks in the facade that need to be repaired before it can get back to its old self. I think we're all reasonably hopeful, or we wouldn't be, we would have given up by now.
Hopeful, but not backing down. They still gather once a month to clean the Grover Tunnel. And they know they can't take the pressure off the city. They just can't.
We talk about crisis. The city has been saying we have a homeless crisis for years now. How long does it take to make measurable progress with a crisis?
My message would be, we have an emergency. Could you please act like we have an emergency? Because I don't see them acting like we have an emergency. And those of us who live in the city, we have an emergency, and we need to do a lot more, a lot quicker, and a lot more thoughtfully, and with a lot more coordination than we've got right now. It's an emergency. It's a crisis, aptly named City in Crisis.
Yeah.
Bob Kaufhaller and Leonard Rosenfeld are on a mission, one that some consider impossible. They do believe Portland's homeless situation needs massive improvements. They just want to be a part of the solution.
There needs to be a leader, somebody to step up.
And they're happy to take on that role, even though things have not been easy for Bob and Leonard and their neighbors around Southeast 136th and Clinton. Their street has been a parking lot for homeless RVs and campers. After numerous complaints from neighbors, the city moved them out. A week later, they returned. The cycle continues. Leonard called the city to let them know the campers were back.
They're back again, so someone needs to come and move them out again, and also pick up a lot of the rubbish that is piling up.
What's really hard to understand is the city keeps doing the same thing over and over again. They come out, they tag all the vehicles here, they make everybody move, they clean up all the trash, and in less than a week, they're coming back. So what they're doing now just isn't working.
But while these two want safe, clean streets for their neighborhood, this is not an anti-homeless campaign. They just want the city to do a better job of finding people a place to live. Because you guys are both compassionate guys.
Mm-hmm.
I know that about the two of you. You aren't just here complaining about what's going on here. You want this thing resolved. You want help for these folks, right?
Right, exactly. Not putting a Band-Aid on it, but actually, well, first of all, taking into consideration all aspects of homeless people, not just the ones that are in tents, not just the ones that are sleeping on the sidewalk. What about the ones that sleep in their cars and the ones that have RVs? They need to be dealt with also in a humane way.
As neighborhood leaders, they've also witnessed plenty of drama. We reported on Kenny Hausman, a neighbor who told us he screens the homeless campers to determine who stays and who goes. That approach led to this confrontation with another neighbor.
The gym across the street.
That house. Give them electric and all that power cord.
You're full of shit. Hey, get the hell out of here. Go screw yourself. Go screw yourself. Sit on it. Spin. Have a good time. And that's what you do.
So
now
that's
he's
obviously one of
saying-
the neighbors who says that you're allowing these people to be here. So he's upset
Yeah,
about
see,
that.
he doesn't know anything. You don't see any power cords going out there. None.
It's easy to criticize.
Still, Bob and Leonard are hoping for a peaceful neighborhood, overflowing with helpful neighbors. Leonard spends some of his time passing out care packages to the homeless. Bob wants the city to develop more of a community approach, where each neighborhood focuses on their issues, then shares what works with the city. So more cohesiveness when it comes to the city as a whole. Is that what you're thinking?
Cohesiveness, and take advantage that, we're known as a city of small communities. And I don't know how many there are, a dozen, 15, 20, but to have 20 smaller groups working together, that's where you get things done, because they feel an ownership because it's right in their backyard, just like we do every day when we drive in and out of here.
And both do plan to stay here, helping wherever they can. They want everybody else to step up too.
It's kind of back to, it takes a village in order to grow a community and to help raise children. It takes a village to solve the homelessness problem too.
Still to come, neighbors take to the streets in one of the toughest parts of town and see who they took along with them as our City in Crisis Finding Solutions special continues.
Let's just maybe walk by.
If you drove by Southeast 122nd and Burnside on this day, you might think you passed a work group on their way to lunch.
Just because we have a lot to show you.
They're working all right, only their project is fixing their neighborhood. And they brought in a powerful city leader to hopefully help them do just that.
They'll get this cleared, they'll be back 2 days later.
No, it's whack-a-mole. We have people who figured out how to game the system.
City Commissioner Renee Gonzalez walked several blocks with these neighbors, making mental notes of what he was seeing around him. And in this part of town, the Hazelwood neighborhood, the mental notes are abundant. Neighbors complain of open drug dealing, rampant crime, and sprawling homelessness. And the numbers back that up. In just the last year, there have been 9 homicides in this neighborhood alone, more than 1,300 larceny offenses, 505 reports of vandalism, and 97 weapons violations in 1 year.
Someone got into my car.
All of that worries Sasha Sterling Smith, especially with 2 kids, 7-year-old Esperanza and 5-year-old Emmanuel. They discovered someone broke into their car as they were leaving for school.
And of course, my first instinct is I want to protect them. And they've never experienced this before, so they're wondering what happened and just being afraid. And it's just a lot. Even taking walks when it's beautiful outside. I may go on a walk, but they're home, with Dad. And I would love to take them. It's just needles on the floor, other stuff on the floor. They pass. Folks experiencing houselessness, which then you have to explain. So I think, it's just hard being able to, I'm attempting to explain things to them that's age appropriate.
Commissioner, let me ask you, when you hear the neighbors like this talk about crime, because we obviously hear it a lot of different neighborhoods, what can be done to help them when it comes to that? Is there anything from the city standpoint that will help them not feel as fearful as they do?
Well, we simply don't have enough police right now, and we're trying to invest in that, and we're making some progress there, but it's not fast enough for our crime rates right now. And so the numbers are heading in the right direction there, but it's going to take us a while to dig out of the hole on staffing.
He also blames the criminal justice system for not holding low-level criminals accountable. For Sasha and her family, the wait for change will be a long one.
It's hard, it's unsafe. I never thought that my kids would know bullet sounds, you know. They'll say, you know, that was a gunshot and not a firecracker or anything like that. And that's sad to me, you know. So definitely feeling unsafe, but at this point it's just what we can afford.
These neighbors have been waiting and waiting for someone from the city to listen. Once their vault of issues was opened, they made sure those concerns went right to the commissioner's ear. And there are many, like the development that has pushed out many of their favorite stores, leaving them on an island.
This building right there is Hazelwood Retirement. That is affordable low-income senior living. Now keep in mind, when they built that years ago, there was a Safeway, there was a Target, there was a bank, there was a pet store, and they built it thinking the seniors would be able to
have close proximity.
Correct. What do you think is left?
Many of these neighbors have walked these streets on their own time, improving what they can when they can.
We have been able to clear the area of the drug RVs, and that over the last 4 years with incredible help.
But they still need more help, lots of it. Things like improved lighting for safety.
It makes such a huge difference on the vibe of the street, you know, and just get out of the darkness.
More than anything, these neighbors want to be heard. They're convinced they've been left out of the process.
Go ahead.
Somebody told me once that we don't get the needs covered because we don't vote. We've given up, as I'm saying, we as a class out here, we've given up that the government's going to help us anymore.
For the commissioner, it's a lot to swallow, but all part of the process of seeing firsthand what so many are living with.
There's a little bit of pain in the heart, right? You know, you see a lot of citizens just trying to live their life and seen some real struggles, from our struggles with crime and hard drug use. Also saw some really positive things. I'm seeing some community members really stepping up, trying to do their best for their neighborhood. And that's what's going to take for us to get out of this. It's going to be some combination of government and neighborhoods working together to bring the city back to where it was.
When we come back, our encounter with a homeless man who was heating his food with a blowtorch, and whether the people in our story have hope for this city.
Is this the one to the left?
He's the one to the left, and I told the fellow on the right.
When you walk the streets of Portland, really walk the streets, it's stunning, yet sad what you might see.
Yeah, you see, he's cooking up his pizza.
As we traverse the neighborhoods around Southeast 122nd and Burnside, we came across Kevin. He was heating up his pizza with a blowtorch. He tells us he was shot in 2016, leaving him paralyzed. Eventually, both legs were amputated. He says he spent 9 winters outside.
Are you connected on Care Oregon at all?
He was impressed to see a city commissioner on the streets.
Just more hands-on, more you know, like interaction. It's just like coming out here and saying hi and just getting to know me, you know. That's an experience within itself that touches everybody, you know, because there's no better way to touch somebody.
I'd shake your hands, but I think I got poison oak on them.
And just a few feet away, we find Devin, who's been living under a tarp for 6 years. He says a divorce sent him to rock bottom. He has not applied for housing, convinced he'll be rejected.
I wouldn't want to say depression, but like, oh no, I can't get in there. And something like that would just set me back weeks.
The commissioner tells both men he'll try to get them some help. Devin asked to throw in a 20-piece bucket from KFC down the street.
Fentanyl in the meth.
Yes.
No matter what part of Portland you live in, there are issues, but you don't have to search too long to find the good. In all of our city and crisis stories, we discover neighbors willing to step up and make things better, even if that means some personal sacrifices along the way. Remember our earlier roundtable when one of the neighbors said, "I think we're all reasonably hopeful or we would have given up by now." Hope is a strong word. It's a feeling of expectation that something will happen. And despite everything we saw on our several block walk and all that confronts our city leaders in the years ahead, Commissioner Gonzalez said this.
I do have hope. You know, we still have good bones in this city, and we've had a really difficult couple of years. Some of it was our own making. Some of it was outside of Portland. It just impacted us. You know, the fentanyl crisis is regional. if not national. It's hit us particularly hard, but we weren't the only cause of that problem. But I do have hope. You know, we are putting more police officers on the street. I think ordinary citizens are speaking up more and more because they have to protect their livability. But it's deadly serious for the city of Portland. You know, we don't have a lot of time to fool around on these issues. So we got to go full speed ahead on cleaning it up and making it safer.
Cleaning it up and making it safer. It's all they've been hoping for all along. We'll continue to listen to the neighbors out there and make sure city leaders hear what you have to say. Do you have a story idea you want to tell me about? Give me a call, 503-231-4206. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.